Today is Tuesday, June 19th, and I'm your host, Paula Hersey. On today's show, first, a look at today's weather. Scattered showers this morning, mainly before 9 a.m. Otherwise, cloudy through mid-morning, then gradual clearing with a high near 79. North wind, 9 to 11 miles per hour. Chance of precipitation, 30%. Let's start with some news you can use. The town of Barnstable kicks off the 200 Main Street Public Parking Pilot Program at 200 Main Street Law in Hyannis on July 1st. In continued efforts towards identifying opportunities within public parking areas to creatively improve quality of life for our residents and guests while supporting the economic vitality of our community, the Town of Barnstable Parking Management Program is proud to announce, starting July 1st, the revised public parking weekend rates and times at 200 Main Street Lot in Hyannis. Located directly on the east end of Hyannis Main Street, the 37-space lot provides a convenient location for the public to park happy, with easy access to local businesses on Main Street, the Hyannis Harbor, as well as various transportation options nearby during the weekends. For more information about this and many other programs we offer, please visit www.townofbarnstable.us/parking or feel free to contact Barnstable Parking Management Program 508-862-4771. We met up with West Barnstable Fire Department Chief Joe Maruca to learn more about a new fire truck and ambulance and a never-ending quest for volunteers.
This year we have two new fire trucks here at the West Barnstable Fire Station. Although one is technically not a fire truck, it's our ambulance. And the other one is an engine, which is right here behind me. The ambulance came in to us just at the beginning of the year, and it's in service now. It was replacing a 10-year-old ambulance. In a station of our type and community, 8 to 10 years is about the life expectancy of an ambulance. Like everything else, they wear out. The ambulance is the busiest truck out of this station. It gets a lot of use. And so our new truck is roaring along on the streets of West Barnstable, and you probably see it. It's a nice truck, and we're very happy to have it. And we replaced a 16-year-old fire engine, which is actually a little young for replacement of a fire engine. Typically, fire engines go 20 to 25 years before they need replacement. But the truck that we had, we were having a lot of maintenance and rust problems with it. And the maintenance costs were escalating, and reliability issues started to escalate with it. So we decided that it was best to replace it rather than to keep pouring money into keeping it going. Folks are always on the move here at West Barnstable. Whether we like it or not, this is where people come to start their careers in the fire service. We have a large volunteer force. We have about 40 volunteer firefighters and EMTs in the organization. We only have 5 full-time career staff. And what happens is that the bigger departments around us are constantly stealing or poaching our volunteer staff from us and putting them into full-time positions around us. And this has been going on for 20 years. There's nothing new in it. But the pace of this has increased dramatically in the last 5 or 6 years, and it's hard to keep up. In the last year or so, we've lost about 14 people to our neighbors. And that's a lot of people to lose at once. It's a lot of talent. People get in here, they do the training, they do about 3 or 4 or 5 years with us, and then bing, Yarmouth hires them. Sandwich, the biggest poachers around, hire them. Hyannis and Centerville and Barnstable hire them. Even Chatham and Truro have hired people from us. So it's a battle we fight. We just put on a new training class of new volunteers, started last month. We got 18 new people joining the organization, which is a big group for us to try and train at once. We're hoping that bigger number will make it harder for them to deplete us over time. But we always need volunteers. So if you live in the town of Barnstable, anywhere in the town of Barnstable, and you're interested in firefighting or emergency medical services, come on down and pick up an application and join the West Barnstable Fire Department. We got room for more volunteers all the time.
Live with us this morning from the big chair at the Barnstable Police Department, Chief Matthew Sonovan. Good morning, Chief.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm quite well, thanks. How about yourself?
How's things going today?
You know, it's going pretty good. It was a little rainy this morning walking the dogs, but I guess it's going to be one of those beautiful Cape Cod summer days.
Yeah, that's what they say. It's supposed to be very nice out today. Get out there and enjoy it.
Yeah, so we a little bit of excitement at a group home this past weekend, huh?
Oh, yep. At about on Sunday, Father's Day, at about 2:25 in the morning, we were called over to 22 Main Street when a male subject, had entered the residence and allegedly assaulted an occupant. The officers got there and they spoke with the victim, a 52-year-old female. Said she was sleeping in her third-floor bedroom when somebody entered the room and covered her nose and mouth with his hand. She screamed, and he took off running from the bedroom downstairs to the first floor, which evidently there's no way to exit from the first floor of that building. So the police got there. They were talking to her, so they felt that they were still inside the building. So they started checking the residence and looking around, and they found Mr. 29-year-old Christian Lima of Yarmouth hiding in a bathtub on the first floor. He was arrested, and he was charged with armed burglary, assault on an occupant, and strangulation or suffocation for covering up her nose and mouth with his hand. He did appear in court and later made bail.
My goodness.
Yes.
That's a little scary, isn't it?
Yeah, I mean, and I don't really know the exact reason, or maybe we'll never know the exact reason why he went in there, if he was intoxicated or what the exact purpose of his visit was, but that certainly wasn't good. It just reminds residents, you kind of keep an eye on and I'm not sure how he got in, but keep your doors and your windows at night locked, because there are other people out there that are looking to take advantage of situations if they can.
Right. This is that time of year, too, that you want to make sure you're locking up your cars, too, right?
Oh, absolutely. This time of year, and that's a good message any time of year, really, because people do go around at night and they just randomly try doors of cars, and those that they find unlocked, they go through the cars to find whatever they can. And it does happen from time to time in various neighborhoods throughout the town, and we do see that it does happen. It's not limited to just the summertime, but obviously with the warmer weather and the increased foot traffic at night, you want to take a little bit extra precaution and lock your cars as well, yes.
All right. So you're sitting in the big chair, but it's not your first rodeo, and talking to rodeos.
Yes, on Saturday, we had our bicycle officers. We had Officer Noonan, Pantonio, and Officer Morrison. Everybody knows Officer Morrison. He's stationed down there at the HYCC. And we had a couple of our CSOs down there as well, and assisted with a bike rodeo that was being put on by the recreation department down there. Putting kids through their paces, teaching them some riding techniques. Helmets were given out. They had a cone obstacle course, and it was a great time.
Can you remind residents and visitors alike, what are some of those rules of road for bicycles out there?
Bicycles, yes. Bicycles are considered to be just like, although they're not motor vehicles, they are considered to be just like them in the respect that they have to obey the rules of the road. Red lights, stop signs, bicycles have to stop for those as well. Have to ride with the flow of traffic on the right-hand side of the road. And there's a common misconception that the bicyclist has to stay way over to the right-hand side of the road. It is encouraged that they stay as far to the right as possible to not impede traffic. But if the road is narrow or whatever, they are allowed to be in the travel lane, and vehicles are expected to slow to a reasonable rate and only pass if safe to do so. So bicycles can ride two abreast if they want. They're not supposed to ride in more than two abreast.
Okay.
Most times you see them riding single file, but they are allowed to ride side by side. They are considered to be vehicles. They do have to give signals and whatnot before they make turns and things like that. So be aware that they're out there, because, again, we've talked about this before, especially with the summertime and the advent of people on the J-1 visa program and everything else coming from foreign countries, and visitors, not just workers, but visitors from different countries coming over here and being out on the bikes. Their bikes are a main mode of transportation in a lot of different countries, but their rules aren't exactly the same as they are here. So be cautious of them, because they might not be exactly adhering to the rules of the road as we see them. They're doing them as what they've grown up and learned through their own experience.
Right, and it's always good just to keep an eye out as you're driving too. They do come up behind you at lights. I've noticed that here on South Street recently.
Yep. And you got to be cautious now. There's a lot of those bikes out there with those electric motors that you see people putting around on. They go a lot faster than just the regular pedal power bikes. And if you're not really paying attention, you see somebody on a bike, you think you got enough time to turn, and then all of a sudden they're right there on you because they've got that pedal assist. They get that pedal assist motor on them. And another thing, when you're passing bicycles, if you're going to be turning right in front of the bicycle, make sure you give enough distance because the bicycle's still moving, and when you're turning, they'll run into you. So use caution when you're passing the bikes, and bicyclists out there too as well. You need to exercise caution as well and adhere to the rules that you're required to as well.
Excellent advice, Chief, as always. We look forward to talking to you next week.
All right, have a great day.
Take care.
Bye-bye.
Bye. Do you love your local water? Well, help keep it drinkable and clean. Calliope Chute from the Barnstable County Extension joined us in studio to talk about Barnstable's hazardous waste collection event coming up this Saturday at the transfer station. Where does hazardous waste go? It shouldn't go in our water. With me today, Calliope Chute from the Barnstable County Extension. Love your local water.
Hi, Paula.
Hi, how are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I'm really well. Today is going to be a little bit of education for our residents.
Okay.
Because top of mind awareness says we take something to the transfer station and out of mind, it's gone, right?
That magical way.
That magical way. It just goes away and we don't have to worry about it. But you're going to teach us today a little bit about our water and our single aquifer and why we do hazardous waste collections 4 times a year here in the town of Barnstable. So let's start with the water.
Okay. Well, Cape Cod has a really rare and unique water source, rare to our region and rare across the country. And that's what's called an unconfined sole source aquifer. Because, I mean, as your residents know, we live on a sandbar, so whatever gets poured on the ground has the, pardon me, the potential to join our aquifer. And on Cape Cod, all 15 towns have one aquifer that connects them. So we're all kind of like communities connected by water in a really real sense. So we have this, and that's what's the unconfined sole source aquifer. Unconfined means that what goes onto the ground can end up in the aquifer because there's no protection. Like some places in the country have bedrock protection, and the recharge takes like 1,000,000 years, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, but on the Cape, every time it rains, our aquifer gets recharged. So it's kind of fascinating. From Provincetown to Bourne and vice versa, we all share the same water source. That's the sole source aquifer. It's pretty fascinating.
It is, and when we talk about hazardous materials, before this interview, we were chatting about what we were going to talk about, and you had mentioned, people think that the water treatment center takes out all the stuff that goes into the water, but it doesn't.
Well, there's a lot of stuff that's just too toxic to trash, and a lot of things that don't go down the drain or in your backyard because it just can't be processed either like by our natural infrastructure of sand and gravel, and also not by treatment facilities because they're not designed necessarily to treat for chemicals. They're designed to treat for what comes out of your home and out of your body. So it gets a little difficult to take out pesticides and pharmaceuticals and that kind of thing from the water treatment facilities, absolutely.
So when we're talking about water and our trash and our hazardous materials, I bring them to the dump. I mean, shouldn't that suffice?
Maybe in a perfect world, but there is no fixed facility for the collection of hazardous waste on Cape Cod currently. And so towns rely on pop-up events like the household hazardous waste events that we have on Cape Cod for the last 25 plus years. And what that means is a contracted chemical waste disposal company comes to your town, or in some cases a zone, and collects on behalf of the county and the town. So Barnstable has 4 free for the residents hazardous waste collections in 2018. One we did in April, and then we have the next one on June 23rd, which is between 9 and noon time. And that allows the town residents, anyone that has a transfer station sticker or a recycle sticker, they can come into the transfer station and get rid of that stuff that's just too toxic to trash.
Okay, so let's talk about the too toxic to trash, which I absolutely love as an acronym there. I think we can make a little graphic with it. Too toxic to trash. What are some of those items?
People think that they don't have hazardous materials in their
Right.
home, and I get it. It's a scary term. You know, the skull and crossbones doesn't really resonate with, you know, the your home. People don't want to think that they have that in there, but we regularly collect pesticides, boat gas, household cleaners, fertilizers that have insecticides or other pesticides in them, pool chemicals. All that kind of stuff that is like ignitable, corrosive, toxic, acidic, etc. That just doesn't belong in the trash. It can't be processed by the solid waste haulers and is very dangerous at an incinerator facility if the town uses one ever.
Okay, and the hazardous waste collection on Saturday, June 23rd, from 9 to noon.
Promptly.
Promptly, exactly.
Close at noon.
and it's busy.
Yeah,
The last time I went, we waited in line patiently, and then you were so very generous as we got there. You're like, "What do you have in your trunk?" And everybody's in the hazmat suit. But let's talk about how residents can go through their homes and start to identify this. The shed, right? So
Oh, yes.
we're looking at,
shed.
you know, half-used containers of things, or, you know, it's got a little bit left in it. What are they taking to you?
Well, it really depends on what the product is in the container. And knowing what's in the container is really important, because sometimes people do secondary containering with no labeling. So I get really old chemicals from sheds and barns and outbuildings from Cape Cod, and it's really not clear what's in there. So in that sense, I would rather take the whole bottle. But if it's like just an empty paint can, empty's empty, and that can be recycled.
Okay.
We don't really like parse out what people bring unless it's not hazardous waste, because the cost for the town to pay for things that aren't hazardous waste to be disposed of hazardous waste is 10 times plus more.
Right.
So we kind of take a look at what is actually hazardous by doing a quick audit of your vehicle, and then allowing you to go to the chemical table. It's all drive-through, so folks never have to leave their vehicle. And one of my goals as customer service is to get you in and out of there as quick as possible, because I don't want to wait at the transfer station for a half an hour on an awesome sunny Saturday. I'd rather go out and do other things. But I'm really grateful when people are patient and hang out in line, and I audit the amount of time it takes to get through the line, and it's usually never more than 45 minutes, which sounds atrocious, but it's not that bad.
It's not. Bring some good tunes on the
Yeah.
car, maybe a snack kind of thing. You have some numbers for us that have been collected in the town of Barnstable. I think our residents would be astounded at some of those numbers.
It's pretty fascinating. So Barnstable County, one of the ways that we serve the town of Barnstable and all 15 towns on the Cape is we take detailed survey information and waste summary information, and are able to give that to the towns at a moment's notice. So last year we collected 55,170 pounds of hazardous waste from Barnstable residents, which parses out to 11,365 gallons. And really, if you were to picture it in your head, what does that look like? It's 148 55-gallon drums. And of that, I think this is kind of interesting, but I'm a trash nerd, like I told you. 36 55-gallon drums of pesticides. So I think about when people talk about having a clean Cape, what does that mean? Well, it means bringing your pesticides to the hazardous waste collection. 12 55-gallon drums of gasoline.
Wow.
And when you think about what the EPA says, that 1 gallon of gasoline can contaminate 1 million gallons of drinking water, 12 55-gallon drums of gasoline really adds up to make a positive difference for our drinking water. We collected 27 55-gallon drums of flammable sludge from residents of Barnstable.
Flammable sludge.
Sounds awesome, right? Why would I have that in my home? That's like oil-based paints, stains, stuff that has been
Right.
sitting around the garage, the basement, the outbuilding, the barn, the shed, whatever.
And I certainly don't want that in my water.
No, you don't want to drink that. And we have these big boxes, they're big cardboard boxes called T-packs. And in addition to the 27 55-gallon drums of the sludge, we collected 20 of those T-packs. It's quite a lot. 3,800 plus pounds of needles. We work with the fire districts and the departments across the Cape to collect sharps. So we have a bunch of drop-off locations the county does in the town of Barnstable. And so we collected 3,850 pounds of needles from residents of Barnstable with the help and cooperation of Calm Fire, Cotuit Fire, West Barnstable, Barnstable Village Fire Department, etc. We collected 504 flares, so people that go boating, that use flares for safety or in their vehicles, those expire, and then what do you do with them after? Those flares contain perchlorates, and perchlorates are regulated in drinking water in Massachusetts and at the federal level now as well. So we collect, Barnstable County collects those with the cooperation and help of fire districts and departments and DPWs. And lastly, a number that I think is kind of interesting, considering I collect this in incredibly small amounts, we collected 7.8 pounds of mercury. So thermostats, thermometers, games, folks find like little jars or bottles in their home. You know, guys used to think there was going to have some commodity value attached to it at some point, so they would like aggregate it in a can and then put it in the garage and then forget about it or pass away, and then their family has to kind of manage it. So 7.8 pounds of mercury.
My goodness.
Yeah, it's quite a lot.
Yeah, and if you think of all of that, that could have potentially gone into our water system is just astounding.
The water system we share with everybody else on the Cape. And our visitors, you know, for the blue economy, we rely very much on a clean and healthy environment, because if you, besides the fried clam aspect, everyone's kind of an eco-tourist when they come here, right? They're coming for our beaches, to recreate on our ponds and lakes and fish in our streams and rivers and, you know, our coastal embayments. And if those are polluted, you know, our blue economy doesn't really mean much.
Exactly.
So it's incredibly important, and I love the passion that people bring to this, because they show up and they want to do the right thing. You know, these people, I didn't collect this on my own. It was because residents of the town of Barnstable made the difference. You know, they showed up and they disposed of their waste appropriately. So, you know,
That's
it's all
the
them.
numbers, they're all there, and you know, kudos to the residents of Barnstable. Hopefully we're going to see a lot more of them. June 23rd, 9 to 12, and then there's 4 a year. So the next one after June?
We have one in August and one in September. All of the information is at loveyourlocalwater.org, a Barnstable County website, and it gives all the information, including an audit. So if folks are like, what is hazardous and what is not, it kind of breaks it down by parts of your home, like your garage, your basement, under your sink in your kitchen, what's in the, you know, the bathroom, etc., and allows you to understand what's hazardous and what's not. So that's all at Love Your Local Water, including all the dates for all the towns on the Cape. Barnstable is there as well.
Excellent. Well, thanks so much, Calliope.
It's my pleasure. Nice to see you.
Nice to see you. Here's a cool community calendar event. For the 16th straight year, kids on Cape Cod will have an opportunity to learn how to shellfish. Barnstable's Natural Resources Department is offering 3 free shellfishing classes for young people throughout June at Bridge Street Landing in Austerville. Natural Resource staff and town shellfish volunteers will assist participants who want to learn how to dig. Participants should be prepared to get wet, and waders, hip boots, or knee boots would be helpful, along with protective gloves. Shellfish may be taken by hand or rake, and small garden hand rakes and trowels will be allowed. Shellfish regulations apply as always, and those legally harvested with a valid permit may be taken home. Attendees will receive a Clamor Kid badge and an activity booklet along with certificates of completion. All ages shellfishing classes will be held June 30th at 7:30 a.m. and August 19th at 1 p.m. For more information contact the town's Natural Resources Department by calling 508-790-6272 or email direct questions to amy.crodu@town.barnstable.ma.us. Let's take a look at the meeting schedule for this week for boards, commissions, and committees. I'm Paula Hersey, and thank you for watching Barnstable Today.